Hey, it's Madea pool, and I'm here. I'm trying to hide from Tyler Perry because he said he's gonna kill me, but I wish that bastard would kill me after all I did for him. And now, he's talking about Tiffany Haddish. I don't wait till I find her. I'm gonna whoop her ass like she's straight out of Compton. Y'all go see Nobody Fool, and then he gonna come back, and then I'm gonna do something with me with Nobody Fool in theater tomorrow. Madea pool. I got you, Brian. I got you, Madea pool.
Oh boy, Tyler Perry fans, man, oh man, it has been a week. Obviously the week is the week for Nobody's Fool coming out in theaters tomorrow, November 2nd. But to be completely honest, it seems like Tyler Perry is getting more notoriety for one of his famous characters than anything else. I feel like the movie itself is being overshadowed by the alleged, I guess you could say, final run of Madea. Everybody and their mother is talking about, Tyler Perry supposedly planning to kill off Madea in 2019. Earlier this week I did a couple videos myself, one about him stating that in multiple radio interviews, and also the fact that a Madea family funeral coming up March 1st, 2019 will be the final Madea movie in the Tyler Perry franchise. Now, he's also planning to do like a farewell tour, going back on the road for a play. Going to have Madea, obviously, but also bringing back some of the classic characters like Mr. Brown, Cora. Some people have been telling me that, Aunt Bam, Hattie are supposed to come back for it as well. I haven't heard all the details yet. I just know that that's his plan for 2019. And in a couple of my other videos, I already went into detail as to how I feel about it. To be honest, I think Madea has been a bit played out for a while now, in my opinion. This is just somebody, and I'm pretty sure a lot of you listeners are in the same category as I am, where you've been on the Tyler Perry, the Tyler Perry ship since the beginning. Diary of a Mad Black Woman, that was the first big project that blew up. Then after that, that's when we really saw DVDs and everything popping up in stores for his plays. My mom bought almost every single one, Meet the Browns, Class Reunion, Family Reunion, Goes to Jail, I Can Do Bad All by Myself, Why Did I Get Married, The Marriage Counselor, that's personally one of my favorites, and the list goes on. I have a majority of those myself that I've bought. Walmart and a bunch of other stores now have it where you can get 3 or 4 plays in the same DVD pack for maybe $5 or so. But I am ready for a change. That's just me, though. I've said it time and time again. Like when I went to the Boo movies, I went to 1 and 2 to the theater to review it for my channel here. And, I actually went back and watched both of them this week because on Amazon Prime, I didn't know that the Boo movies were included in my Amazon Prime package where you can go on there and watch the movies for free because, you pay for your membership, so the movies are in there. I had the same feeling watching them again that I did in theaters. I really didn't get a lot of laughs until maybe the last 20 minutes or so, when it gets to the point where Madea, Hattie, Aunt Bam, and Joe are dealing with the quote unquote ghost and zombies and whatnot. The entire movies themselves are just, played out jokes one after another because, again, as somebody who has been watching Tyler Perry media since, he really blew up, how many times can we just hear the same jokes? Madea not knowing how to quote scripture, talking about weed and then jumping up and down, so the Madea fake breasts are flying up. Hattie, her broken English or hard to understand dialogue. It's funny when I was watching Love Thy Neighbor because it was in small doses, but to actually sit through like a 90-minute film of that, and then Aunt Bam, in my all honesty, I think Aunt Bam is the funniest out of the 3, but I think Joe is funnier than all. The Joe scenes are what crack me up. But my thing with this is, I don't know if Tyler Perry is actually going to kill Madea off, and you're probably wondering, well, Jeremy, what are you talking about? Why are you bringing up the Boo Madea movies? I'm bringing it up because of one particular scene at the very end of Boo 2, and on the screen now I'll show the end scene. I wasn't able to find the exact clip. I couldn't find the clip because it's only 20 seconds long, meaning that I could have put it in the video under the fair use policy. But basically, spoiler alert if you haven't seen Boo 2, but to be honest, if you haven't, I don't know where you've been. So again, spoiler alert if you don't want spoilers for the very end scene of the Boo 2 movie. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Boo 2, just to give you a brief synopsis, Brian's daughter Tiffany goes to like trespasses to like a lake or something with the frat students from the first film for a Halloween party, and there's apparently a haunting by a soul named David. He was a psychopath or something that killed his entire family, and he's been known to kill people who trespass on his land for chainsaw. And throughout the film, at the end, you see people getting dragged off by like possessed people and whatnot, but obviously it turns out they're not possessed. And at the very end of the film, Joe walks up to David and he sounds like Darth Vader. So basically he's talking, he's like, "Hey partner, they tell me you killed your whole family, that right?" And then he nods his head. And then Joe says, "Well, look, I got this sister of mine that I've been wanting dead for a long time. She's a big old dude. You think you can help me with that?" And he nodded his head. I'll share some of that good with you." And then the movie ends. I mean, again, Joe is my favorite character in the Boo franchise. But basically, I'm just saying this. Tyler Perry did state in interviews that he originally planned to have the 2 Boo movies and then the next movie be the Madea family funeral. But instead of 3 Madea films back to back to back, he wanted to switch it up. That's why it was Boo 1, Boo 2, Acrimony, Nobody's Fool, and then finally a Madea family funeral next year. I was a bit disappointed when I first saw that the Madea family funeral got pushed back, because honestly, I was looking forward to that film because I think that the story-driven movies for Madea are actually better than the Halloween ones that were just meant for laughs. I mean, like I said, I truly did get some good laughs during the final 20 minutes or so of the film, but the hour or 70 minutes leading up to that wasn't really that funny. There were a couple of jokes here and there that I'd laugh at, but you can only really laugh at Hattie not being able to talk so much, and then Bam talking about being on a prescription and needing to squirt or something like that because she had to go to the bathroom, and then Madea just, the same jokes that I've been hearing ever since the Play days, and even the early films. But I feel like if you look at the Madea family funeral, just the synopsis, it sounds like a wacky enough scenario. And I did see they released the official trailer. I will be doing a breakdown video of that. But I think that is pretty clever. If Tyler Perry originally planned for a Madea family funeral to be the last movie in the installment, I don't know if you could consider a Madea family funeral as the follow-up movie to Boo 2. Because I will say this much, if Tyler Perry originally planned for a Madea family funeral to air this year instead of Acrimony, and then be the final Madea movie, that's actually pretty clever when you think about it, because he could have followed up from the Boo 2 scene with Joe talking with David, and then have a Madea family funeral kind of be a Halloween-like, movie. Maybe he could have released that in October, and then have Madea die in that, and it would have been holiday appropriate. However, here's what I think. And a lot of people are, I don't want to say that Tyler Perry is facing backlash for this. It's just a lot of people who don't want to see Madea die. It's kind of funny though, because I've always seen more people who have said they've gotten tired of the Madea character. That's just another example of a black man cooning and buffooning in Hollywood. It's like, Hollywood is determined to put every black man in a dress, and that's kind of like the rite of passage, so to speak. If you want to make it big in the industry, you gotta be willing to look like a fool, put on the dress and the wig and whatnot, and then do what you need to do. I mean, personally, I would never really do that. That's not my, hey, Bobby Brown, it's not my prerogative. But I'm just saying that Madea did open the door for Tyler Perry. If it wasn't for the success of Madea, then I doubt that we would have a have and have nots. I would doubt we would have the Pains or House of Pain or, anything in that installment. But I feel like, if he's tired of playing the character, he's tired of playing the character. And to be honest, like I said, I've been over the Madea thing for a while now. Like, don't get me wrong, like the sketches and whatnot that he would do, like, what was he, he was on Jimmy Fallon a couple times. Madea was like the spokesperson for the White House, and something about Trump calling Madea. I mean, those little sketches were funny. I think it's the fact that I can only take it in small doses as opposed to full movies anymore. That's just probably where I'm at. But I feel like with Tyler Perry, I don't think that he will actually kill off Madea. I feel like he will do it in such a way that Madea will still be alive. I feel like there are so many story opportunities. Like, for one, okay, you could take it the comedic route. Like, say that Madea is on the run for the law, and in order to escape going to jail, she has no other choice but to fake her own death. So she has to go underground, has to put on an alias or something like that. That could happen. Or you can go the Boo 2 route, where you can have Joe successfully have David kill Madea, and that will be the end of that. I mean, if it's done in a comical way, I think it will be hilarious. But I know a lot of people will just be dissatisfied with that. But to be honest, Madea is a joke to begin with. I mean, it's a parody character. I think Tyler Perry said he got inspiration from one of his aunts, if I'm not mistaken. And I mean, death is something that should be joked about. But at the same time, if done right how many times has Madea joked about all the men she's killed in her, all the ex-husbands and whatnot that she's killed in order to get their checks and whatnot? So what if she died by eating something that turned out to be, spiked with whatever? Or again, the Boo 2 have not David Harrington. It's like, Madea, your brother Joe said he wanted you dead. And it's like, Joe don't know what he's talking about. I'm not Mabel Simmons. And then maybe she'll point to Aunt Bam or Hattie saying they're Mabel. And it's like, no, Joe told me specifically it was a big old dude he's been having a problem with. And then it's like, Mabel tries to flirt with him, put on some of those stripper moves, but it doesn't work. And it's like, nope, your brother promised me some of the good. And I mean, those kind of conversations would be hilarious. I mean, I feel like that would be very hilarious. But I don't really know how I'd feel. I don't think Madea will die. I mean, I could be completely wrong, but remember, folks, this is purely a speculation video. There's nothing set in stone. I mean, Tyler Perry has said it out of his own mouth that he does plan on killing her off. And I did love this hilarious sketch of Tyler Perry dressed as Madea, dressed as Deadpool. That was a great marketing ploy. I mean, in order to hype up Nobody's Fool. But like I said before, to be completely honest, I feel like and again, I'm not bashing the movie because, number one, it hasn't even come out yet. I do plan on seeing it this weekend, though. I feel like the whole killing off Madea has literally overshadowed Nobody's Fool. It's kind of like, people forget how successful Michael Jackson Off the Wall album was because Thriller just burst open the floodgates. That's how I feel with the Madea situation, where Tyler Perry has talked about the death of Madea, but that has overshadowed Nobody's Fool. And it's not even going to be helped because when you think about it, the trailer for a Madea family funeral is going to be playing before Nobody's Fool. So think about that. But keep it in mind this way. Just because a Madea family funeral is coming out as the last Madea film, that doesn't necessarily mean that, Madea will die in the film. Because when you think of it this way, you got the plays as well, and the argument could be made that the plays and the movies are not in the same quote-unquote Tyler Perry universe franchise. They're their own separate entities. It's kind of like, if you want to make a nerd example, like I would, Dragon Ball Z. You have the Dragon Ball Z anime, which is the cartoon that everybody watches, and then you have the manga, which is pretty much the comic book, if you want to just, use that term. You have the comic book, which was written first, the manga, and then the anime is a loose adaptation of the manga. Some things are added in as filler, some things are changed. That's kind of how I look at Tyler Perry's movies and the plays, where the plays were, for the most part, done first. then the movies were extensions of the plays. Some things were the same, some things were added, and you see where I'm going with this. So whatever happens to Madea in the funeral film, that's not necessarily what's going to happen during the final tour, so to speak, because I have no idea what the story is supposed to be, all the characters. Maybe it's just like a tribute to Madea where it's just going to be a classic Madea play, you know, and maybe she does. And I'm honestly thinking that the ending of Madea, just to wrap things up, is going to be Madea, you know, escaping from the cops. It's like, if you go back to the Boo films, at the ending of every film, she's running for the cops. It's like, I remember Nephew Tommy was one of the cops in the first one, and she was running away from them. And then you have in the second one where she's in the police station, and her photo mugshots on the wall and everything. She's been, you know, she's up for being arrested for. So I think that in a way of escaping the police and whatnot, it will definitely mean Mabel's going to go underground, in terms of she's going to quote unquote die, but then also escape underground, so to speak, so to avoid the law. So that's just my thoughts on that. But guys, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Do you really think that Tyler Perry is going to kill off Madea? And if so, how do you think it will happen? Or do you feel like me, where it's going to be done in a comedic fashion where she's dead but not really dead? Again, I'm going to throw in one last comic book reference for you. Comic book Batman The Dark Knight Returns, where Batman, or Bruce Wayne, faked his own death during his fight with Superman, and then they had a funeral and everything, but then it turned out Bruce Wayne was still alive, just to live about his vigilante lifestyle and raise up a new generation of vigilantes. I don't think Madea will raise up a new generation of, you know, Madeas, but you get what I'm saying. And he ditched, you know, his quote unquote life in order to escape the law as well. So subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. And like I said before, just because I've been done with the Madea character for quite some time, that doesn't mean that the Madea character hadn't been teaching a lot of important lessons about life and whatnot in the plays and the movies. But over time, I feel like, you know, Madea has become more of a joke than a positive figure. That's not to say, I feel like a lot of people look at the Madea character. I mean, it depends on what group of people you ask, of course. More people look at her as a negative stereotype than actually a positive, because I can actually see that. Because when you think about it, mostly white people, it's kind of weird. I mean, when you go back, if you want to dust off your DVDs, because some people got DVDs from when they originally came out of the Madea franchise, like Class Reunion and whatnot, you know, during the opening credits and then the end credits, you usually have somebody doing interviews with people who are going into the theater or people who are going out of the theater, telling their thoughts about the plays. Well, they're mostly black people. But then when you go to the movie theater, and again, I can only speak from where I'm located, it was mostly white people. So I feel over time, Madea has become more, I guess you could say, commercialized and whatnot, and really showing us negative stereotype of the typical, well, black person or black female. Oh, a black person that smokes weed. And then, I mean, if you want to throw Joe into the mix, you know, they're siblings. So, you know, black people smoke weed, curse a lot, talk about, you know, hoes and money and bitches and stuff like that. And that's, again, I can see why people would think that that's the cooning and buffooning, because white people love to spend their money to see black people acting the fool like that. So I can definitely understand why some people are just over the Madea character. Some people just never got on board the boat to begin with. They just never was, you know, I guess you could say entranced by it, or persuade, or even in the, I guess you could say, motivated to get a ticket. That's pretty much the best way to say it. To be honest, I think some of Tyler Perry's best films are the non-Madea related ones. I mean, to be honest, most of those movies are, well, obviously predictable. But I'm not judging the Boo movies on that scale, due to the fact that those are Halloween films. Those aren't meant to be heavily story driven. But if you have a movie that's over almost like 2 hours long, it should have at least a compelling story to keep you intrigued, because when it's just, you know, the same back and forth jokes that really are hit or miss, and for me they're miss. I think if you go back to both Boo movies, okay, I know some people probably going off in the comments, you talk too much. Well, I'm just This is my channel. If you go back to both Boo 1 and Boo 2 movies, there's at least like a 10 to 20 minute scene in each movie where Brian is talking with the old folks. You know, they're all in the living room. Brian's standing up, then sitting down. You have Madea, Joe, Aunt Bam, and Hattie. They're all talking. There's usually like a 10 to 20 minute just back and forth exchange about how Brian needs to man up and be a father to Tiffany and not let your ex-wife run the show, and something about why he's so sensitive and don't talk to us like that before I get up and put this cane up your ass. That might be funny in small doses in like a sitcom format, but when you actually have a scene that's almost as long as an episode of a typical sitcom, or that same back and forth banter, it's not funny. It's just a waste of time. So I skip through that every time I rewatch it. But yeah, just my thoughts. Let me know your thoughts on Madea. Give me some of your favorite Madea moments. I think that, yeah. Instead of like, you know, the typical, oh, what was your favorite Madea play and whatnot? What was some of your favorite Madea quotes, Madea movies, Madea plays, if you want to list them, because you might say, oh, I loved her line from Madea Class Reunion. It's like, girl, you know, I love you. It's like, I told you it worked. But just a quick segue. I did watch the trailer for a Madea Family Funeral. I'm actually looking forward to the movie, but at the same time, it's like, okay, are we going to see the same stuff over and over? One different thing is the fact that we see Madea in church. I mean, true, we did see her briefly in church in a Madea Halloween, the first one, but it looks like, you know, she's doing a eulogy or something like that for the person that passed away. But there was the, well, classic Madea scene of like starting off some scripture but then not knowing it. Once again, just a joke that's been played out. I remember the first time, what was one of the first times we heard that, when she's trying to quote scripture and Madea goes to jail. Did she try to do that and I Could Do Bad All By Myself to play? I don't know, but I just hope it's good, because he did write the film and he literally finished the film. Like, I think he said he, already produced and filmed it and whatnot in 2016. So it's been shelved for 2 years. So it's possible he's been waiting to kill her off 2 years ago, but he just wanted to wait for the right time. So in that case, guys, if you made it this far into the video, I appreciate it. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. And yes, next Tuesday is going to be the I'm not going to say mid-season finale or finale. I'm just going to say next week's episode, Exhausted, of the Haves and the Have-Nots, is going to be the 2018 finale, as the final episode of 2018 before we get a well-needed break from the series. Given the fact that Nobody's Fool comes out tomorrow, I will try my best to see it this weekend, and I'll give my review on it this weekend as well. Of course, you know, I have a bunch of other videos I need to get done as well over the next week or so. So even though the show is going on hiatus, don't worry, I have plenty of content I want to talk about. But yeah, let me know your thoughts on Tyler Perry killing off Madea. Are you excited for Nobody's Fool and Tyler Perry moving from OWN to Viacom next year? And once again, in the comments, let's have a fun discussion. Let me know what are some of your favorite Madea moments.